When there's something strange
in the neighborhood,
what are you
you
gonna
pull?
A
Winchester!
When there's an evil skate
rolling down the hall. What are you gonna pull? A Winchester!
What's wrong with us?
From Rock'em Sock'em robots to evil roller skates, this is Filmplay.
And if you hadn't guessed, we were going to be talking about horror films tonight.
I actually don't see how they could have.
Well, Winchester.
I don't think anybody saw Winchester is the problem. Problem number one. Two, anybody can just immediately associate Ghostbusters with sci-fi, comedy, horror. Would you immediately associate the word Winchester with horror? Because again, Todd, nobody saw it but us.
There was an evil skate.
There was an evil skate, and it was glorious. It's like this era's balloon. The 90s made balloons horrifying. The 2010s made skates horrifying.
No, they brought back the balloons. The skate tried.
It did try.
It tried very, very hard.
Just didn't have a leg to stand on.
Boom. But before we go and talk about horror, let's talk about last night. The biggest night of film. And the winner, The Shape of Water.
Won a fucking Oscar for all my loving... I'm very excited that it won. Because this means that weird, good, out there movies can actually win outside of what I honestly expected to win. Bar none. I was sitting there just like, Darkest Hour is going to win. It's a World War II biopic that stars an old actor, stars Gary Oldman. This is a, excuse me, this was Oscar bait.
Hey, granted, he got the Oscar.
He did, but for Best Actor as opposed to straight up Best Movie. Like, that movie was really, really just like, I want them Oscars, I want them Oscars!
So how many people do you think in that audience wants to fuck a fish?
I would say at least 75%.
Okay. Because that's the first thing. When I heard that movie once, like, how many of those guys want to fuck a fish?
The funniest part that I found, a friend of mine actually texted me in this article basically saying that that apparently a bunch of people sent in their own dildo renditions of the monster's dick to Guillermo del Toro. And he said, none of these are right. Which makes me think, did he really have that clear of an image? That very specific image of this thing's dick in his head.
Yes.
And
This is Del Toro we're talking
This
about.
is Del Toro we're talking about.
He has Hellboy's penis in his head.
That's true.
I want to meet the guy who's able to actually recreate.
I'm betting you it's gonna be like in the shape of a heart. It's just gonna like come, it's gonna split off two ways, it's gonna wrap itself around her.
What's wrong with you?
What can I say? I love this movie. Because honestly, it was one of my favorite movies of last year.
Same here. It is a phenomenal movie. Beautiful to look at.
Oh my! It deserved that best cinematography Oscar. Oh, Barna! I swear to God, if it didn't win, well, I'd be very upset, and I'd write a very strongly worded letter full of arsenic to their houses.
No, you wouldn't. I know you well enough.
I wouldn't. I would write those strongly worded letters, though.
No, you wouldn't.
I wouldn't. I'm too lazy. I don't give two fucks about the Oscars.
I can give two craps about it too. At the end of the day, it's whoever has the most money.
It really is. And did anybody really expect Guillermo del Toro to have enough money to actually, do that 4-year consideration
Yeah.
campaign to the point of winning.
Yeah, I was really shocked because Del Toro wouldn't do something like that. So I'm hoping that this is going to be a big change.
I agree, especially like with movies like Call Me by Your Name and Get Out, which Call Me by Your Name was a blatant independent movie, a blatant independent foreign movie that was nominated. I'd assume that movie didn't have any movie to throw away and say 4-year consideration. No, it got nominated based off its own merits. Same thing with
Well, granted, I'm going to flat say this right now. That's an Oscar bait movie right there for this year.
Yeah.
Gay kid having troubles.
Yeah. Simon. I'm not excited for that movie.
That's not going to win anything.
I hope not.
But
So let's dive into this. Todd, let's talk about horror movies. My God, modern day horror sucks.
oh yeah, it totally does.
And I feel like kind of like a broken record saying this, because everybody says it's like, oh, modern day horror sucks, and here's why, and here's why, and here's why. And I don't care, because I'm throwing my hat in the ring, because I really just want to bitch about modern horror. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Now, granted, there are a few good modern horror movies, but
Yeah,
I mean,
you've also got some stinkers. Like for every
It Follows, you get Saw 3.
Yeah.
You get 5 or 6 Saw movies.
For every Conjuring, you get Annabelle 2.
Well, I didn't like The Conjuring.
I actually really like The Conjuring. For every Paranormal Activity, as much as I know you didn't like that movie, you gotta admit it was still somewhat
I still recognize it as
a good movie.
Yeah.
You get for every one of those, you get Alice in Murderland, which I recognize is one of the worst movies ever made.
But I think the reason why we're bringing this up, because we went and saw Winchester about a couple weeks ago.
And then Annihilation just a couple nights ago.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I didn't know what to expect walking into Annihilation.
Neither did I.
I really didn't, because I feel like the trailers did such a good job keeping everything so close to the chest that all you really knew is it was going to be this team of Ghostbusters.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, going into this, this alien territory that was kind of like transplanted on Earth, but it's got some really imaginative set pieces, like the quote unquote flower people, so to speak.
I like that. I like the creatures a lot.
Oh, that bear! Oh, that bear! Oh, Jesus Christ, that bear!
I love the alligator. When he opened up his mouth and he saw like multiple mouths.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of you know James and the Giant Peach?
Yeah.
That giant shark that jumps out of the water. It's like the giant mechanical shark, and you just like see all the like back rows teeth, and it's like kind of reminded me of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I still got to give it to that bear. Like its entire face is like exposed and nothing but skull.
And I love the fact that when it roared,
you hear the
previous person that it killed.
And that was fucked up. That was really fucked up. But I loved it.
Yeah.
See, I like this movie. I thought it was a well-done movie. It's very imaginative in its visuals. I feel like it did have some pretty interesting themes. I don't feel like it had as many as a lot of people are saying it to have.
Yeah.
Because I saw it as a tale about almost kind of like Frankenstein in a way. What really makes the monster? Is it because, this thing is different and it's scary and because we're assuming it's going to attack? Or, are we the ones really going to attack? Because even seeing multiple times in this movie, multiple times the ending, they kept asking, like, what does it want? I don't think it wants anything.
Yeah. It's the fear of the unknown. I think that's the best way to put it.
Which that's kind of horror in a nutshell. It's at least good horror in a nutshell is, the unknown. It's the unseen and the unexplained, which, the ambiguity in this movie does help with. My main issue with this movie, it's not the horror aspect. It is the Christopher Nolan style, cynical, freaking Dark Knight Returns acting. Like, everybody's constantly talking like everything they say is just so super serious. Every word has weight, no matter what it is. I just took a dump last night, right in the cabin. No one knew. No one knew. Kind of like that. And it's like, it's like every single freaking line in this entire movie and it just kind of it creates this disconnect from the characters. And in a horror movie, I feel like that's one thing you definitely shouldn't do, is because you need to be able to empathize with these characters and their struggles and their situations, and you need to be able to put yourself in their shoes to, you know, really, what's the best way I can put it? For a lack of a better word, to experience their situation, to actually to get where they are. Like if you were, you know, being chased down by giant bears, I feel like I would have.
Well, you would have shit your pants.
I would have shit my pants. But here's the thing: get me to feel like I'm being chased by those bears. Get me to feel like I am this person in the Shimmer. By the way, for the longest time until I actually saw the poster for this movie, I swear to God, I thought it was called The Shimmer. I'm kind of surprised it wasn't.
I have nothing to say to that.
I mean, what did you think of Annihilation?
I'm still pissed off at the fact that they went in there with no hazmat suits.
Instead, they went looking like fucking Ghostbusters.
And it's just, I don't know what it is. It's just, you're going into this unknown area where everyone has died. Clearly, people are hallucinating.
Yeah.
So why aren't you wearing hazmat suits?
It's like, is it something in the air? Is it something they were eating? You never know.
Just,
But at the same thing, if you're gonna be in there for multiple days, you know, how realistic is it that you're gonna be able to really get away with that for so long?
But you would wear the hazmat suit to analyze.
That's true.
And I don't feel like anyone did that, or, you know, there was no showing of that, and I just felt like it was so dumb. They're just
Like,
going in there.
Yeah, everyone was trying to get to this place. No one was really trying to understand what was going on around them. It was just, okay, we're going to have all our answers here. How do you know that? There could be answers laying all around you. You don't take enough time to really look.
And I think that was my biggest problem, is that, no one took a minute to think and be like, you know, if we did this and we walk back, we have enough stuff that we can study. Like, Natalie Portman's character was, you know, picking up stuff left and right. Go back! Yeah,
like that one girl, I don't remember her name. She's the one who inevitably cracks.
Yeah.
She actually points that out. Like, as soon as the first girl is hauled off and killed, you know, she actually points out, like, hey, we got enough supplies. You know, we have a turning back point. Let's get them moving on. One thing that did kind of bug me. I get it. I get what they were trying to go for in terms of what they were saying in terms of, why all these mutations are happening. I thought it was a really creative explanation. I didn't understand quite the analyzation of memory here. Like, I didn't get that.
Yeah, when they went to bed and then they were like in bed for like 4 days.
No, it's not even that. It's like they walked past the tree line, and they said, like, hey, we've now been out cold probably for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe they weren't even out cold for 3 or 4 days, but it's like the fact that they went from here to here, none of them remember, and it's really the only time. Yeah, and then like, I can understand if it was like little bits and pieces they couldn't remember. I can understand trauma. I can understand, you know, they're still going through these mutations in their body. You know, their whole structural system and their blood and everything and their brains are all trying to readjust to what is essentially a whole new way of living now.
And that didn't bother me because it's the unknown.
Right.
And you can't give that many answers away.
But here's my problem with it, is that they only did it once. They only took out that giant time chunk one time.
Yeah, but they never really went to bed.
That we saw.
Yeah. But really, honestly, I don't think they ever went to bed. Oh yeah, the one time when they were in the cabin. But yeah, then the crazy woman, you know, woke them up and, you know.
Well, there's also a time like when they were at the military base. There was a couple times they went to bed.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Well, Annihilation's a good movie.
Yeah.
Now, if we were to flip that coin,
we get Winchester.
We got motherfucking Winchester.
This is my problem with modern horror movies, and we're gonna talk a bit more about it shortly. But it's a movie. They're movies where they try they they're trying to scare you by trying to trick you, and it doesn't work.
Right.
It's like the mirror moves, and he moves it back. The mirror moves, and he moves it back.
And they did that like 5 or 6 times. And after the first one, it's like you immediately know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And they just kept building it up and up and up, and it's like, okay, just get on with it.
Yeah, just get it over with. For crying out loud. And I don't understand why. I understand why horror movies do it. I don't understand why they can't do it well.
Right. Because here's my biggest issue with modern day horror is the lack of patience. That's my biggest gripe. And the biggest offender of this is, of course, jump scares.
Yeah.
Jump scares are awful. There are very few times where a jump scare has been effective. And basically, here's a jump scare. It inflates your sense of fear and tension, and then it just pops.
Yeah.
Okay, now that all that release has happened, it's like you've already had that release. All the tension is gone. And you can only do that so many times before your tension... It's like trying to blow up a balloon 10 times in a row. It's going to become far more elastic. It's going to become saggier over time, and it's just not going to inflate as well.
See, my problem is that I'm going to use Paranormal Activity as my example, and why I don't really like Paranormal Activity is, when the scares are coming, they talk, and then something bad happens.
That is true.
They talk, and then something bad happens. It's not something bad happens, they talk to me, something bad happens. No, they talk, and then something bad happens. There's no mix-up with modern horror.
Right.
And that's what drives me nuts.
Right.
Because the whole point of horror is to scare me.
Yeah.
And if I know when the scares are coming, what's the point? Winchester, with the mirror, I saw the scare coming. If they did it the first time with the mirror, I would have liked it.
Yeah.
But they did it 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, even if they had done it only the once, it still wouldn't have been that good to begin with. Because it's like... jump scares are so commonplace nowadays that you can spot them in an instant.
Oh, yeah.
And that is another thing that bugs me. Is just the repetition and the unoriginality. You can spot a jump scare coming a mile away. If I can spot the scare coming a mile away, it's not as scary, because you know what I can do? You know what your brain naturally does when it senses danger? It prepares itself. Good horror should catch you completely off guard. Completely. Like freaking walking down an alley, suddenly get smashed in the back of the skull by Slugger.
Best example, Cabin in the Woods.
I love Cabin in the Woods.
The intro. The intro was a jump scare. No one saw that coming. Granted, it was a comedy horror, but I mean, that's how you do a jump scare.
Right.
And we're not saying to filmmakers, just put random jump scares in movies. No. Try to make it suspenseful without revealing the jump scare.
Yeah, or revealing the scare in general. Like, make it organic. I know that can be hard, but you want to know something? Making movies is hard. Put some effort into it.
If all else fails, just go, da-dum, da-dum.
Damn it, Steven Spielberg was the original jump scare. But you want to know something that was even... Okay.
I got a question for you. Okay, as we're talking about, talking and something scary happens, why does it work in Jaws? Here's that theme. Dun-dum, dun-dum. So the shark's coming. So why are we scared of Jaws, but we're not scared of Paranormal Activity or Winchester?
Here's why. Because it teases you. Those scares are all teases. So it's building throughout the entire film. Those jump scares are frequent. But these, it gets your tension going, and then it pulls it back. Gets it going again, pulls it back. It never lets you deflate. It just pulls you back a little bit. And that's why it works. It never gives you the opportunity to come down from that adrenaline high. Whereas, again, jump scares get you up. Okay, you're done. You're back down. It's like a sugar high. It's like a sugar rush.
Roller coaster.
Yeah. Now, can we talk about something in Winchester real quick? Here's one thing I actually do love about horror in general. Not just modern day horror. I wish it was in more modern day horror. But just some of the absolute ridiculous shit they'll throw in there.
The evil roller skate?
There was an evil roller skate.
And I just like the music that followed it, too. It's like...
They're just sitting there, and there's like all this creepy shit go on, and then just roller skate. And then fucking spooky ghost bullshit.
And then the roller skate.
This roller skate was the herald of death.
I will say it. That's one of the cool things about a lot of modern horror. They'll pick something ridiculous.
And they'll make it fucking weird or scary, like clowns.
Well, clowns have always been scary.
Have they really?
No, but, you know.
There you go.
To be honest, you have Killer Clowns from Outer Space. You got
It.
You know, It 1 and It 2 and...
It 2017, It 2018.
Where's the... There was another recent clown movie about the clown sightings.
Stitches.
Freak Show. Well, not Freak Show. Man, I think I could be able to name
More killer clown movies.
House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil Rejects.
I've seen the first one. Is there a clown in that movie?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I remember that one. No, I haven't seen it in a long time, so it took me a minute. It's been a while
too, but
right.
But let's talk about different horror genres.
Yeah, I would like to talk about atmospheric horror. Yeah. Kind of going back into the vein of Annihilation. It's these movies that build up the intensity not by, a direct adversary or some, guy in a mask chasing you down with a knife. No, it's when your entire surroundings, you feel like anything could get you at any time. Yeah. And there is no safety.
These movies, there are a couple modern ones that do it, Annihilation. This was very common back in the old days. Yeah. Silent movies and early talkies.
Right.
The Universal monster movies. It was all about the setting and the atmosphere. It wasn't necessarily Dracula, but it was.
But the location was this grandiose castle and these dark, contrasting mists and the bright moonlight shining down on a young heroine as she slowly.
Yeah, or The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Yeah.
Great German expression movie back in 1922, I think.
Right, or even what's a good one? I would say The Man Who Laughs. Yeah. That's a good one. Or Hunchback of Notre Dame, Nosferatu.
Nosferatu, Frankenstein.
Hunchback.
I already said Hunchback.
Did we say Hunchback? I'm sorry. And as we said before, the old Universal monster movies.
But it really is the setting that sets the story. It's not necessarily the monsters. Don't get me wrong. Frankenstein is scary.
Yeah.
Lon Chaney, Phantom is scary.
Right, but if it wasn't for, this open cavern at the bottom and the bellies of this opera house, just seeing him run around through the streets or through some fucking random field in a back alley or something, it wouldn't be nearly as horrifying.
Yeah. And it's interesting, we look at these old movies, it's not scary. But I read a lot of news articles about Frankenstein and some of the reviews, and there were people that were generally terrified.
Yeah.
There was a guy who, when the monster appeared, had to walk outside and pace back and forth and being like, I don't know if I can go back in. And eventually went back in.
I think it's a matter of, because it's older. Yeah. People have been so accustomed to this for so long, and we've done and there are also so many deconstructions. Mm-hmm. Once you live in an era, like we currently live in an era where a lot of horror movies are now comedies because everything's been done. everything needs tropes. We're breaking them down. We're making fun of them. You know, we're looking them in an ironic light.
And it's harder to scare us.
Yeah.
I think that's the main thing. It's just like, what really scares us? I mean,
Right.
we see death on TV all the time
Right.
now.
It's a matter of satisfaction. Like, I feel like we've just been spoiled.
Yeah.
Everyone always says like, "Oh, you know, we live in a golden age of horror and all this stuff." You know, like that stuff wasn't scary back then. But it's like, think about this. Think about every horror movie you've ever seen in your life. Every movie you've ever seen in your life. None of them you've ever seen or existed. Pretend like this movie, first movie you've ever seen in your life.
Mm-hmm.
How would you have felt then?
I think with Dracula, I'd be generally terrified. Maybe not. I don't know.
Nosferatu.
Nosferatu,
spooked me.
yes. Nosferatu, the Phantom.
Yeah.
I think I would be terrified. I don't know about Dracula.
Dracula kind of creeped me out. Didn't necessarily scare me, but it creeped me out.
Frankenstein probably wouldn't.
Right.
But maybe Dracula.
Yeah. So we have to agree that atmospheric horror is not just about the antagonist, the villain. It's mostly about everything else around him.
Yeah. The music, the setting.
The lighting, the cinematography.
You know,
That's what
the
really...
important parts.
Right. So I would actually like to go on to suspenseful horrors.
Yeah.
Which, you know, immediately your thought, at least my thought process when thinking about suspenseful horrors is my mind jumps back to thrillers.
Yeah.
What separates a suspenseful horror like It from just a straight thriller like Vertigo?
I think the best way I put it, because I think Vertigo, man, this one's a hard one.
Yeah, I mean, those are two classic examples.
Because I'm not thinking Vertigo in my head right now, too. I'm thinking South by Southwest.
Okay, we'll use South by Southwest.
Is that the actual title?
North by Northwest, excuse me.
Thank you.
Or
wait,
even
that's wrong.
Even The Birds, or you know.
Well, I
The
generally
Gift.
think The Birds is suspenseful horror.
I could see it. But
I think with there has to be something supernatural about it. I think that's the best way to put it. Or something doesn't. I don't want to say doesn't feel right because I want to use Psycho too.
You got to stop and think. Well, Psycho is also, you know, a precursor to the modern day slasher.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of suspense with it.
That's true because it's a suspense horror. Again, that was before the era of slashers.
Yeah.
It's kind of.
I mean, yeah. The only thing that happened is there's that Norman Bates killed a woman in a shower.
Right.
You know. Yeah, it's you know, it's like a slasher, but essentially it's about a man dealing with his dead mother.
Right, but
a crazy man dealing with his dead mother.
No, if you want to get down to it, movies like Psycho are, as you said, they are kind of horrifying because you do get the aspects of, you know, dead bodies and people being chopped up, and there are those elements of actual threat. Mm-hmm. You know, you can say the same thing about thrillers.
But I think at the end of the day, I think with thrillers, I think I figured it out. With thrillers, there is a conclusive ending.
Yes.
I think with horror suspense, we don't necessarily know what that ending's going to be.
The Gift. The Gift is a perfect example against that. Because if you've never seen, have you ever seen The Gift with Joel Edgerton? So basically at the end, they're halfway through the movie. One of the main characters, it stars Jason Bateman. Forget what the other girl's name is, but I freaking love her. And Joel Edgerton. Mm-hmm. And basically what ends up happening is halfway through the movie, the wife, Jason Bateman's wife, gets, you know, knocked out. You later found out she was drugged. Mm-hmm. And you don't find out what happens in the between time. But there was a scene, they build up to this, where the wife had just given birth. And all this crap is, you know, deteriorating, like their relationship is deteriorating, and the main antagonist sends him, you know, clues, but never conclusively says, I might have raped her and impregnated her. That baby might not be yours. and it never fully comes out and says it. And it never fully comes out and says exactly what happened to make the main antagonist hate the protagonist so much. It never came out and said, like, what exactly transpired to make this guy fucking snap. I feel like that movie's a blatant thriller in my opinion. Like, that one's not a horror. I mean, it definitely has horrifying elements, but I feel like it's a very good counterpoint.
This is hard. How do we separate the two?
Right, because they're so closely internet, but I feel like there is a separation. You know what I mean? Like, I feel with suspenseful horrors, you can look at it and say, that's a horror. And then with thrillers, you can look at it and say, that's a thriller.
And I think it's the best way to put it is something with supernatural elements. I think that's the best way to put it. It's the true unknown.
Right.
Is what separates a thriller from suspenseful horror. Because at the end of the day, we know it was a man in, what was it, The Gate? What movie were you talking about? The Gift. Why was I thinking The Gate?
Yeah.
Both start with a G, I guess.
I mean...
But I mean, it's a story about a man, right?
Yeah.
But The Omen, which is a suspenseful horror in my opinion, is about the Antichrist.
Rosemary's Baby. It's another good one.
Rosemary Exorcist.
Yeah. But at the same time, does it necessarily have to involve, the supernatural? I feel like...
And see, that's the kicker there, because, once again, I look at Psycho.
Yeah.
There is no supernatural.
Yeah, there's just this really fucking crazy dude. But it is... I feel like that movie is just as much a horror as it's a thriller, though.
Yeah. So, I mean...
It's a very hard separation.
Or Birds.
The Birds.
Or granted, I think there was some supernatural.
Yeah, like, just a bunch of, freaking...
And birds.
Yeah, the precursor to Birdemic. What the hell is going on with that?
But, essentially what we're talking about is this... Suspenseful horror is Jaws. It's not a suspenseful one.
Like, that's not a supernatural element. It's just a big monster or a big animal just trying to survive because he was hungry, so he tried to eat.
But I was about to say it's survival, but that's not right either. Because when you work at North by Northwest, they're trying to kill him.
Yeah. It's not survival, it's just, hey, we don't like this dude because he knows too much, like the man who knew too much. Another Alfred Hitchcock movie. His movies were so aptly named.
Yeah.
Dial M for Murder, Psycho, The Man Who Knew Too Much.
Rope.
But you just hear rope, you don't exactly know what to expect. The only actual bit of rope in there,
that is true.
It was the murder weapon.
Rear window.
That's it. Yeah. For all you know, that could have actually been his front window. His side window. What if we were lied to all this time?
Well, actually, no, because it was an apartment.
That's true. No, how much better do you think this movie that movie would have been if it was just called Bedroom Window? I feel like it would have just lost a huge amount of its credibility.
But it was directed by Alfred Hitchcock, therefore it's a masterpiece.
And I agree with that. Because everything that man touches turns to gold. Everything that man throws birds at turns to gold.
Literally birds.
Dead birds!
Actual birds!
Dead birds, here you go!
At the actress.
Oh my god.
And now we're gonna go...
Let's go into torture...
Slasher... This is where...
Let's basically go to torture porn and slashers. Let's go into the Saws.
Friday the 13th.
The Nightmare on Elm Street. Halloween. I swear to God, that wasn't planned. We just said that at the same time.
And,
in the same order.
These are the type of movies where literally they're there to freak you out through gore.
Yeah.
And blood.
It's gore porn.
That's it.
Yeah.
Hostile. The Hostel.
Oh, they're talking about Hostiles with
No.
Christian Bale. I was like, huh?
That
You actually stayed
Eli
away from
Roth
that movie?
But yeah, I was thinking that when I said that. Like,
Which You want to know something else? Is that
That would have made the movie better, though.
that would have been. Here's another thing. Why is it that people decided that, slasher horrors were like the lowest form of movies? Not just of horror, but pretty much of all movies. I understand that they're easy to do.
They're easy to do.
That's pretty much it. They're easy
Yeah.
to do. Anybody can do them.
You can do them in a week.
You could do
And
it
it
in a
doesn't
day.
require... Yeah, and it doesn't require a lot of effort.
Yeah.
All it is a woman running into the woods and then chop. That's it.
Or stab, or blow up, or shoot. Have you ever noticed it's always sharp weapons? It's never like a blunt weapon. It's never a gun. It's always a knife, or a sword, or a machete, or something of the like. I want with a bow and arrow. Somebody show me a movie with a slasher killer uses a bow and arrow. That'd be pretty cool. I want Green Arrow to be a horror villain. Yes, the Hunger Games. That's what I want.
He sees you in Star City. No, wait a minute. That's not... Yeah. Yeah. No, that's Flash.
No. He sees you in Seattle. He sees you when you're awake. He sees you when you've been bad or good. Oh, God, here comes Green Arrow, for goodness sake.
Oh, jingle bells, jingle bells.
No, oh, Justice League, I'll never be in it.
But I think that's what it is. They're so cheaply to make, and they're easy.
Essentially, they're easy. No, my friend, they are easy.
Well, if they were easy, we would see a lot more of them.
We do. They're B movies. That's the quintessential B movie is slashers. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna like shink. But you also got to think.
Leprechaun. He didn't have a knife.
God damn it. Monster movies, too. Monster movies can, in some cases, be considered gore porn. And Saw. Saw gets creative.
Yeah, Saw gets creative, but they use...
First bear trap.
They use sharp objects.
They do, but they use a lot of shit. They use a spoon. They use spoons, man! Needles! They use everything! They probably use headphones at some point!
No. I see most of them.
I wouldn't be surprised if they put it in there at some point, because let's be real, the Saw franchise will never die.
I don't know, it died for a little bit. Came back to life.
Just like Jigsaw.
There hasn't been one since, so...
There was one a few months ago. What are you talking about? Hasn't been one ever since. And they're already in talks for another one.
There hasn't been one.
Not for the past few years. You know what else there hasn't been in a while? Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th.
Well, they don't know what to do with that. They don't know what to do with that franchise.
Halloween. Dude,
I think Nightmare on Elm Street got screwed over when they did the remake.
Yeah.
Because they added a backstory for Freddy Krueger.
Funny enough, I kind of like the remake. I also like the remake of Halloween.
Halloween is fine. I didn't like the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street because they gave Freddy Krueger a backstory.
Right. That's another huge thing. It's kind of like giving the Joker a backstory. You can't give the Joker a backstory because when you do that, you start making him more of a human and more relatable. And what happens with that? You start making the monsters more sympathetic. And what happens then? You start looking at it as, and we're like, oh, you poor soul.
Poor unfortunate soul. Okay. So horror.
Let's talk about fucking horror.
Let's go to jump scare horror.
Fuck jump scare horror!
This is what we have come down to. It's been suspenseful to, let's throw suspense out the window on which is stab people to...
At least it's straightforward and it doesn't bullshit you.
Now it's like, we gotta have to walk into the stab.
Yeah.
We gotta scare them by walking into it.
It's like, oh, here I go. I'm going into this dark room where I know something's gonna happen. Oh, spooky bullshit. That's pretty much how it is every time. It's like, ah.
Why?
Why? You know, I would actually really love to talk about this a little more in depth next week when we talk about independent movies. Because we're going to talk all about independent movies next week.
Yeah.
And I'm going to bitch and fucking moan about British accents, I swear to God.
Pip pip cheerio.
I swear to God! Okay, Todd. Let's get on to the next bit. Top 3 horror movies, go.
The Invisible Man, 1933.
So the original?
Yeah.
Not the Johnny Depp one? That will never be made.
I'm curious to know. We'll stop here for a second. I'm curious to know what Universal has planned for that monster franchise. They have tried so hard, and they have all the logos finished. They have all this ready to go.
So they had all the graphic design work. Probably the easiest part of making a movie.
And
no offense to graphic designers out there.
They decided to put Tom Cruise in The Mummy for some weird reason.
And not even really make him the mummy. He's just like, mummy.
He's the man who becomes the mummy.
Jesus Christ.
I'm going to be real honest with you, Universal. I don't know what you're thinking, trying to make it action-centric.
Yeah, I don't either.
That's not the point of your monster movies.
I think it's because most franchises...
Well, I know why they did it. It's because...
all Universal franchises nowadays not only have to be, connected, they have to be action.
Yeah. It's like, at the end of the day, they want to be the Avengers, but with the Mummy and Frankenstein.
Yeah, because everybody wants to be the Avengers. For the love of God, people, understand, you're not the Avengers. The Avengers, it was its own thing. It was a good, it was good while it lasted. But
I want my shared Robin Hood universe. with a whole movie based around Little John, Friar Tuck. I'm not making any of this up.
What the fuck?
Yeah, Sony wants to do a shared Robin Hood universe, and they were gonna have like separate movies. Like you have the Robin Hood movie, and then you have a Friar Tuck movie, and you had a Little John movie, and it became Robin Hood and his merry men, and it was going to be this great big action-centric story, and I'm just like...
No, you can't get any... Okay, in terms of, like, the Robin Hood story, my all-time favorite, and you can't beat it, Men in Tights.
Oh, yeah.
I love that movie.
We're men.
We're men in tights.
Rolling around the forest looking for fights.
We're men. We're men in tights.
Tights.
Tights. I love the blanket.
Not to Universal. You have an opportunity to create a shared universe through suspense. Mm-hmm. No action, great suspense.
Right. But no, everybody has to be the Avengers because the Avengers made money once.
And not only does it have to be like the Avengers, but they gotta have big name stars. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna walk away Johnny Depp as the Invisible Man.
Right.
I don't understand why he even wants to be the Invisible Man.
Because he's Johnny Depp. He wants to do the next thing he hasn't done yet. He'll do. I feel like he's just got like a secret checklist of like every conceivable role he could ever play, and he's just slowly going down the checklist one by one by one by one by one. By the end of his career, he's gonna have like that last one. You know what it's gonna be? It's gonna be the Invisible Man. He never got to be a Universal horror monster. All right, so the Invisible Man. What's number 2?
I'm gonna have to go with The Omen.
Okay.
It's one of the few horror movies that never scared me. Granted, I saw it when I was like 12, and I thought God was going to kill me. Okay, I grew up like at a Christian school, and every time during art class, we would have to watch Rapture videos. And so I'm freaking out.
Like, draw your own Rapture, kids!
And so I'm always freaking out, like, tomorrow, Jesus is going to show up and take us all away. And I'm just like, here's the Omen. It's about the little Antichrist. Guess what comes after the Antichrist? The Rapture. Which, by the way, if you actually read the Bible, the idea of the Rapture being the way that it is, everyone gets lifted up and they're gone. That's not how it happens.
It does in American Dad.
It happens in American Dad and the Left Behind books. So yeah, I have to go with The Omen. I guess the third one, it's not really horror, but it's a monster. I have to go with King Kong.
Okay. I consider monster movies horror movies.
Yeah. It's brilliant. That's the best way to put it. They put so much effort into it. It's an original story. And I'm talking about the original, not the Peter Jackson 3-hour bullcrap.
Yeah.
Or the 77 movie. But it's a beautiful film.
Okay.
Everything about it is the way it was shot, people behind it. So
I can feel that.
You're 3.
So my first one, I got to give it to the movie that, like you said, I feel like in anybody's top horror movie list, there's always gonna be that movie that as a kid it fucked you up. It screwed with you bad. And mine, it's gonna be kind of a cliche answer, but mine was It. The original It was it Tim Curry?
Tim Curry, yeah.
Tim Curry. I couldn't want to say Steve Curry. I wasn't right. That shit fucked me up, man.
Were you afraid of balloons?
No, but I was afraid of laughter.
Were you afraid of clowns?
No, I was afraid of laughter. I was terrified. Like, it's just his laugh. Like, he was such a riot, and then all of a sudden he's just like... I was afraid of people trying to make me laugh, because then I was like, oh, I'm going to get lulled into a false sense of security, and then I'm probably going to get, like, face fucked by an evil clown. Fucking great. Fucking great. No, you know what I want to see? I want to see that whole movie remade, but, like, the entire thing. I want the giant turtle in there and everything.
I would love to see the original ideas, because they wanted to put Freddy Krueger in there. They wanted to put they wanted to put Freddy Krueger and Jason in the movie.
Fuck kind of sense was that made?
It's a movie about a demonic clown. Nothing makes sense, dude.
That's true. I just feel like that would have been taking it too far. My second, I know I classified this as a thrill earlier, but if you do want to classify it as a horror, just because it is honestly one of my favorite movies, and it is honestly a pretty fucking terrifying movie once you get down to it. I was gonna say The Gift. But I'm actually gonna retract that answer, because again, like as I was saying before, it's not really. I was making the argument earlier that it's not a horror. So trying to come up with something on the spot here now.
Well, what was your third choice?
Coming up with something on the spot here now. Because I only had one, honest to God. Okay, if you want to count it, I would say if we're gonna go back to monster movies, I'm gonna give it to The Shape of Water. Honestly, one of the best movies I've seen in years.
I'm gonna count it, because I'm gonna, every Halloween, I make a list of about 31 horror movies. Well, 30 horror movies plus 12. And I separate them from vampire, witches, monsters. So a movie like Shape of Water would be on my Halloween list.
Yeah. I actually just thought of 2 more.
Okay.
3 more. So let's take that one back again. I'm just like, here's this one. No, this one. Here's my definitive. So it's Psycho.
Okay.
Because Alfred Hitchcock is my inspiration. I really want to be that director who's known for throwing birds at people. But not birds. I think it's something else. I want to throw bricks at people. But they're actually going to be like squeaky bricks. But in that bag, there's going to be one real brick. You never know which one you're going to get.
I would have loved to have seen Psycho back in the day.
Yeah, when that shit was, new.
When that was new, and you really thought that the actress that gets stabbed was the real star.
Yeah. Or it would have happened at the end.
Yeah.
And my third one... Fuck, it was just in my head. Play me out, Todd! Shit, I really can't think of a third one all of a sudden. I had it in my head. I remember now. It was The Day the Earth Stood Still.
Okay.
I love that movie. I absolutely adore that movie.
The original, right?
The original one.
Okay.
I have not actually seen it. I don't know if I've seen the remake. I think I've seen the remake.
The remake with Keanu Reeves?
Yeah, and I love that. I love that movie, kind of for the same reasons I love Annihilation. Or like Annihilation. But I love this one because I think it doesn't matter. What does it look like I'm almost dabbing? God, no, just kill me now. No. That's what we should do.
That's another movie that I would love to have seen back in the day too.
A character that just dabs.
Yes. No.
We need a superhero that dabs.
We do.
For Bushman.
Yeah.
I need to understand the superhero a little more, but we'll go into that one later.
When Infinity War comes out, we'll talk about him. That's another movie I would love to have seen back in the day because I feel like we're kind of getting back to the whole Cold War and that we're going to be worried about the bomb dropping on us.
Korea.
Yeah. And Russia.
And Russia.
But to have it that back in that day, it was completely different. Like,
oh, yeah.
Holy shit, the bomb could be dropped any minute.
Yeah, Red Scare was a huge thing, was a real deal.
And to have a movie like that give us that story, to me, would be a lot more effective then.
Oh, yeah, it would have made a much bigger impact, but you know what? It might have an impact then, and, I mean, just because it doesn't make an impact, as much of an impact on me nowadays, I feel like it did cement itself in in film culture.
Oh, yeah.
So
I'm not saying that it's...
No, absolutely. So I gotta give it to It, Psycho, and The Day the Earth Stood Still, the original.
Okay.
So what about our least favorite?
I was about to say that. So what is your least favorite?
I'm gonna give this one over to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you go first.
Fuck. Making stuff up on spot again, because I honestly didn't walk in. I didn't walk in as prepared this time. I'm sorry. We actually sat here on the way to the set. And I was sitting like, fuck. I didn't think of anything. The only thing I had was it. That's the only one I had loaded in the chamber.
We'll go with my least favorite. I'm gonna go with Paranormal Activity.
Okay.
Or the Blair Witch Project. I don't know which one yet. More Paranormal Activity, because, as I said earlier, all it was talking, and then they would film something, and something would be. They would try to make something scary, like a door closing or a bedsheet moving. And then they would talk. And then they would try to make something scary again. And then they would talk. And then they try to make something scary again, like a bedsheet. A bedsheet's not scary. Moving a bedsheet in the middle of the night is not scary, people. It's riding roller skates, god damn it.
No, roller skate.
Yeah, roller skate.
Singular. Because if it had to, it'd either be twice as scary or it would have been even more ridiculous. Watch them start doing fucking, creative dance moves on them. The ghost is just sitting there, they're like, yeah.
But yeah, I hate Paranormal Activity because I felt horror was dead when I saw that movie. Even though I think it was a well-done movie, what it was trying to do failed. I like how it was shot. I like some of the dialogue, but you failed at trying to scare me.
Right. Fuck. I'm sitting here trying to think of a truly horrible horror movie, but honest to God, I just can't think of anything. I can think of a lot of good examples, but I can't think of that creme de la creme horror is dead for me, because I feel like for me horror slowly died over time.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I said Paranormal Activity died to me, horror movies died to me, it was mostly I just didn't care anymore.
I got it.
What do you got?
The Human Centipede 2.
Okay.
Here's why. And it's not just because they did the Human Centipede again. No. They took the shock
value.
Thank you, shock value. And they just went they just fucking kicked that shit up to 12 without quite understanding exactly what made the original be as twisted as that fucking movie it was. A decent horror thriller. Mm-hmm. Going back to that. But no, it was just one of those things. Is horror for the gore for the sake of gore, shock value. That's the word I was looking for. And I hate movies that try to do that. Just have shock value. It bugged me a little bit in Red Sparrow. We're not talking about Red Sparrow today. Go check out our Red Sparrow review. So, Todd, I think we're kind of coming to the end of the night here, and
yeah.
I
think
would
you
like.
guys are actually missing the absolute worst horror movie ever.
Which one?
Jason X.
No, that's a brilliant masterpiece that everyone needs to watch.
Exactly.
I am sorry. It is amazing. And
Are you serious?
yes, get a couple drinks in you, man. It's amazing.
No.
I mean, it's Jason in space, frozen, going around killing people on a space station. How is that not awesome? That's like Leprechaun back in the hood. That shit's amazing.
What?
Leprechaun back in the hood. It's Leprechaun back in the hood.
Oh, I was gonna say another great horror movie. Scream. I love the Scream franchise. Fucking love the Scream franchise.
I will give you that is a great series.
Minus the TV show. I watched like
I've
the
never
first.
seen the
I
TV
watched the first 10 minutes of it. And I was like, no, I'm out. I'm fucking out. But I think the first one is honestly one of my favorite movies of all time. The second one's also good. Third one's good. Fourth one was like, oh, the fourth one's just a remake. It's crap. It's still a great Scream movie, and it follows so well in line with what Wes Craven started out with.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Wes Craven, is he dead? He's dead, isn't he?
Yeah.
He recently died, didn't he? You know, rest in peace. One of the best horror directors ever.
Oh yeah. Hills Have Eyes. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street is a classic.
You know, Scream.
So, you know, as we wind down the night, let's talk about our entertainment picks of the week.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of the words, and I was like, wait a second. Yeah. So, mine, I didn't bring the book with me, but I want to talk about just kind of go in line with everything. I want to talk about a manga called The Cage of Eden. And it's so sad it never got an adaptation. It would have been great.
Yeah, give it time.
I don't think it ever will. Or maybe it's gonna be like Parasite. Basically what it's about is it's like Lord of the Flies meets Jurassic Park. And it's great. It's basically about this plane, and it's got like, you know, not just a class of students, but like, you know, the main focus is class of students. They're flying back from a trip from Guatemala back to Japan. And they go down this island. And when they get to this island, it's a bunch of prehistoric creatures, like not just dinosaurs, but like extinct, like giant monkeys and shit that just go around like just freaking killing people, and it's amazing. And they're trying to figure out for the longest time, like, what is going on? Like, how did we get trapped here? What? And like, there's this kid who runs around with like this hockey mask. Kind of reminds me of Jason. He calls himself Hades, and he's really stupid, but he just likes to kill people. You never actually find out who he is. That always annoyed the hell out of me. And at the very end, you find out somehow, some fucking how,
I'm down.
they actually went into the future, where it turns out the main character's mother started this island for some reason, where she just said, you know what, I'm going to go learn genetics, and I'm going to go start up Jurassic Park on a random island somewhere in between Guatemala and Japan, in the middle of the ocean. And then the ending is so freaking stupid. But it's a really good manga. It's a really good suspense horror manga. But the ending is so stupid. Go ahead, Todd.
I have to think long and hard about my pick. I was actually, on the drive here, there was a lot of different movies I was going to choose from.
What were a couple of those, Todd?
Well, there was The Phantom of the Paradise. Pretty much Paul Williams, the stars Paul Williams, and he causes this songwriter the worst pain ever. And as the songwriter was trying to get revenge on him...
Sounds like Misery.
Yeah. As he tries to get his revenge on him, his face becomes disfigured, and he haunts Paul Williams' opera house.
It's the Phantom of the Megaplex.
Pretty much. But sexier and darker and more amazing. It was the precursor for Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, God.
That's how amazing this movie is. So there was that one.
I've never seen Rocky Horror yet.
And I'm going to take you one night.
I will go.
Then I thought about doing Werewolves on Wheels. If you only see one werewolf biker movie this year, make sure it's Werewolves on Wheels.
What was the actual promotion?
Yes! And it's about a bunch of bikers
And
who
become werewolves!
No, there's more to this. It's about a bunch of bikers who interrupt a satanic cult. And so the cult decided to turn them into werewolves, and then they decided to attack the occultists.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Wait, can I actually bring up one more movie real quick?
Yes.
I want to talk about Anti-Birth.
Go right ahead.
So it stars the girl from American Pie, and who also plays Nichols in Orange is the New Black. Basically, she gets pregnant with what they start to assume is like the Antichrist or something. And most of the movie is just stupid. Like it's kind of boring, but the last 5 minutes are amazing because all of a sudden, like the FBI busts out her door. They're like got guns drawn, and then she just gives birth right there. Freaking lights are flickering, and what basically happens is she turns inside out into this creature it just gets gunned down. It's like, what the ungodly fuck? It kind of goes along with shock horror, but it's so visually fucking weird and macabre, and I love it.
So, then Justin said, if I mention this movie, he's going to stab me.
No, I said I was going to cut you.
He was going to cut me.
Hold on, before you say that, hey Dan, you got a knife?
Got a couple.
So, I decided that this movie is going to be what I'm going to mention. Jesus Christ, Vampire Hunter.
Done.
It's a story about
I'm
lesbian.
fucking done!
It's a story about lesbian vampires that are finally able to walk in the sun. So Jesus is like, no, you can't do that, and just shows up with his best friend, who's a Mexican wrestler, to stop these lesbian vampires. By the way, it's a musical.
Wait, who is his Mexican wrestler friend?
El Santo!
It's fucking El Santo! Come on, now that you talk about that, it reminds me of a movie I saw a few years ago. It was, I don't remember the name of it. It's basically about, like, this lesbian vampire chick. I think it started, like, Mila Kunis or something. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's really stupid.
Black Swan?
It wasn't Black Swan.
Boom.
Black Swan's a great movie. Don't you touch that masterpiece. That's one of my favorite movies of all time, is Black Swan. I love that movie. Go into that when we start talking about thrillers. Yeah. Psychological thrillers.
But it was either going to be that or Hamlet the Vampire Slayer. So...
Done!
I recommend it because they're complete shits.
But
And
they're fun shits.
It's
like
fun shit, but you're like, Jesus is at a restaurant talking to his, I think it was like his mashed potatoes.
Jesus Christ.
That like magically like turned into the Virgin Mary.
Wait, is that like seeing the Virgin Mary in your tortilla? But you see it in your mashed potatoes. That's the American way. Wait, I just kind of want to see like him sitting there looking at his mashed potatoes. There's the Virgin Mary. El Santo's looking at it. They're looking at his tortilla. There's the Virgin Mary. They're like, which one's the real one?
And then there's this weird out going, this means something, like in UHF.
Jesus Christ.
I think I broke Justin tonight with all my occult worthless knowledge.
To be fair, I kind of broke you last week with Tokyuger.
Not really.
It was pretty funny, though.
Yeah.
Alright, so should we wrap it up there?
We shall wrap it up there. Check us next time as we talk about indie.
We'll talk about all things indie, indie horror, crap indie, good indie, our tropes about it, fucking British accents. So join us.
Just British people in general.
No, not even just British people in general, it's just the British accents. For God's sakes, you can have them down in Texas, they're all talking and fucking, they're fucking British.
It's the fact that it takes place in Britain.
Even if it's fucking taking place in Jerusalem.
That is true.
What the fuck, Samson? Join us next week on Monday at 8 p.m. for another episode of Filmplay where we talk about this shit. I fucking lose my shit!
And we'll talk about Simpson.
Done.
Cut it off.
God damn it.